everyone, it's Julianne here for Honeybee Stamps and welcome back. I recently shared a tropical scene card for the Honeybee Stamps video hop and a bunch of you seemed to really like it. So I decided for my post this week I wanted to make another tropical inspired card, but this time I wanted to focus on the beautiful hibiscus flowers that are included in the Paradise Bloom stamp set. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I created this friend card, and the products I'm going to be using today include the Friend Sentiment stamp and coordinating die set, along with the Paradise Bloom stamp and coordinating dies as well. I'm going to start out my card today by first stamping those two hibiscus flowers, as well as one of the leaf images that are all included in the Paradise Bloom stamp set. I am going to be stamping each of them using some Memento Tuxedo black ink onto some Express-It blending cardstock. Once I have all of my images stamped out, I'm then going to start working on my Copic coloring. I will make sure to have all of my marker caps off to the side of the screen if you are interested in any of the colors I'm going to be using today. And I'm going to start out by coloring in those hibiscus flowers first, and I'm going to be using a yellow color combination for them. I drew inspirations from the ones that I planted in my yard a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to show you a picture of them here. I planted them directly outside of my craft room window, and I find myself staring at them a lot of the times when I'm in there, so I wanted to bring their beauty to my card today. Once I have all of my yellow color down, I'm then going to be coming in with both R05 and R17 to add the red detail into the center of each one of my flowers, just like the ones that I showed you in my pictures that I have planted outside. I'm going to be doing that by doing a flicking-like motion, starting at the base of each petal and flicking out towards the edge. Next, I'm going to start working on coloring in all of my leaf images. And for those, I'm going to be using one of my favorite color combinations, which is G14, G05, and G09. And like all of my other coloring, I am going to be starting with my lightest color, working my way out to my darkest, and then back down to my lightest. So I'm just going to finish up coloring in this last leaf, and then I'm going to be using the coordinating dies to cut out each one of my images. And to make sure that the dies don't move while they're going through my die cutting machine, I'm just going to temporarily adhere them down using some washi tape. Once I have run all of my images through my die cutting machine, I then started working on the placement of all of those images for my tropical scene, and I decided that I really wanted to have them on a dark background. So for that, I'm going to be using a dark blue colored cardstock, and to get rid of that white border that the die cut leaves behind, I am going to be coloring in that area using B39, since I thought that that Copic color really matched my background perfectly. I did speed up this process for my video, but I'm just going to be taking my time going around each one of those images in order to avoid mistakes, since I did spend all of that time coloring each of them in. Off camera, I used the coordinating dies again, but this time I ran them through my die cutting machine using some more of that dark blue colored cardstock. And I'm going to be adhering two of those die cuts behind each one of my images in order to add some dimension to each of them so that they really pop up from my background. Once I have all of those adhered, I'm then going to decide on the final placement for each one of my images in my scene. And then I'm going to be using some press and seal from my kitchen. And I'm going to use a small piece in order to cover up my scene. You really don't need a lot. And then I'm just going to press down, making sure that each one of my images are attached to that press and seal. And then I'm just going to remove that sheet and flip it over onto my work surface. And I'm just going to be adding some liquid adhesive to the back of each of my images. Using the press and seal is going to make sure that my images stay where I have placed them in my scene, and it's going to make it super easy for me to be able to lay them back down onto my cardstock. Once I have added that liquid adhesive to each one of my images, I'm then going to be bringing my background panel back over, and I'm just going to line that up with my images. I found it easier for me to just have my images flat on my work surface, but you could definitely lay your background panel onto your desk and then flip over your press and seal and line it up that way. Either way will work. Once I have my background all lined up, I'm just going to make sure that I press firmly down, and then I'm just going to flip that over and remove that press and seal gently in order to make sure I don't damage any of my images. Once I have that all off, I'm then just going to flip over my panel, and using a pair of scissors, I'm just going to trim off any excess that may be hanging off. Now with my background all complete, I am going to start working on my sentiment for my card, and for that I use the Friend Sentiment stamp set and coordinating dies. I did run that Friend Sentiment die through my die cutting machine 3 times using some white cardstock and once using some red glitter cardstock. I'm going to be adhering 2 of the white sentiment die cuts together using some more of that liquid adhesive, And then I'm going to be adhering that last white die cut to the back of the red glitter cardstock sentiment. I did use the shadow die that's included in this die set, and for that I ran that through my die cutting machine using some vellum. I really love using vellum for my shadow dies. That way it really helps my sentiment stand out from my background, but it also doesn't cover up my background since I did spend so much time working on it. I'm going to be adhering the glitter cardstock on top of the vellum, and then I'm going to adhere the two sentiments that I adhered together. I'm going to be adhering those to the back of the vellum, lining them up with the ones on the top, and that's going to give my sentiment some really nice added dimension once I adhere that to my background. Next, I'm going to start working on the sentiment for the inside of my card. I normally don't add sentiments on the inside, but someone reached out to me in the comments asking for ideas for the inside of their cards, so I said I would, so here I am. I'm going to be using some of the leftover images that I colored in, and I'm going to arrange them in the left corner of my card. That way I can decide on the placement of my sentiment. Once I'm happy with that placement, I'm then going to stamp out the sentiment "I miss you" using some more of that Memento Tuxedo black ink. Once I have that all stamped, I'm then going to be adhering all of those images into place using some more of that liquid adhesive. Once I get those last few images all adhered onto the inside of my card base, I'm just going to use a pair of scissors to trim off any excess that may be hanging off. And then I'm going to start working on assembling the rest of my card together. I'm going to start out by adhering my background to my card base. And my card base is a side folding A2 size white card base. And once I have that all adhered, I'm then going to be adhering my sentiment at the bottom right of my card. Once I have that all adhered, I'm then going to be adhering part of my sentiment that I actually stamped out. And I'm going to be adhering that above my sentiment die cut using some foam adhesive for even more added dimension to my card. Finally, to finish off my tropical inspired card, I am going to be scattering some of the new Summer Sun confetti mix throughout my background. I absolutely love this confetti mix, and I think it matched perfect with my hibiscus flowers. And once I get those last couple confetti sequins adhered, that's going to complete my card for today. I just love how this card came out. It's so bright and tropical, and I really hope that you like it too. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe for even more card making ideas. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, they will all be listed and linked down below in the description box. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting!